I make more with my personal brand than any of my businesses pay me. I'm allowed to be me because I like me. And most people aren't able to do that because they need the viewer to like them.
Lightspeed VT founder Brad Lee turned his brand into a cash machine and now shows creators exactly how to turn their own influence into unstoppable income.
It's called dropping bombs, providing the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. That's going to attract people that want knowledge. And usually those are winners. You know, losers think they know everything. Losers don't need any help. They don't need any advice. If I die like Melissa, she needs to find another dude, right? And she more than likely would. You know, if I was going to go down in a plane crash, I would want her with me.
You built a mega brand through social media. What should people start with?
The key is to flood the internet with your face.
You're saying post 3 to 4 times a day.
On 6 different channels. On Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. The top one of them all is YouTube because people use that as a search engine. People are like, well, I just need to make some money. Where do you think money comes from? Relationships. Every dollar you've ever received came from a relationship of some kind.
Everyone sees Brad Lee. Good looking dude. He's crushing it on social media. Everything. He looks almost impenetrable. What's your kryptonite? Brad Lee, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Dude, I'm super excited. You know, I launched this podcast, your episode 4. A little bit intimidated, man, because you're a pioneer in this. You've been doing it for a while. But I think, you know, the cool thing about this is pretty much everyone that I've had on so far, total expert. But with you, we've been friends for a while. And I think, you know, when people see you on social media, they see, you know, the raw Brad, the sharp Brad, and obviously that's who you are. But I'm a little bit excited today because I'm going to talk about some of the things that I know about you, some of the things you might not have talked about on your own podcast or other podcasts. But in general, I'm just super excited to have you here, man. Thanks for doing this for me.
Well, thanks for having me. What an honor. The American capitalist.
Look, man, I think, you know, one of the reasons, and there are a lot of reasons I had you here, is social media. I think, you know, everybody's talking today about building your personal brand. You have been a pioneer in this, as well as a lot of other things that I'm going to talk about, but you built a mega brand through social media. You talk about other people, how they could do it. But when I look at social media, dude, I'm seeing it changing a lot. I think it used to be, you know, flashy cars, flash your watch, all these things grabbed attention. But, you know, now you've got these things like baller busters. You got other people out there that are starting to expose some of these fake gurus, if you will. And I think just, dude, the average American person starting to look at some of this stuff, and I think they could sniff out bullshit. And so, you know, 2 questions. What do you think about that? And if that's true, what's the new currency on social media today if it's not Lambos or flashy watches?
Value. It's always been value, I think. The flashy watches and the cars. I mean, it works. You know, people will follow that. It's lifestyle marketing. Mm-hmm. People want what it is you have. So when you show the fanciness, they tend to follow you because they want it as well. And they're wondering how you got it. But I think value is the new currency. Authenticity. You know, believe it or not, it's almost like the new TV. Mm-hmm. So just like a reality show, man, when you wake up, you should make a post. You know what I mean? And throughout the day, just share your life with other people. Preferably, at least my method is to provide value. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just straight entertaining. Sometimes it's educational. Maybe give them a tip or something, but value, I think, is really what's going to win at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. I think, you know, I know you're a big believer that everybody could do this on social media. I think you're kind of an anomaly because, dude, first of all, you're funny as shit. I think people see that through social media, but in real life, I don't think, you know, I've had more dinners where I've left crying half the time with you. So that's one thing. But secondarily, I think more people see the funny Brad. You're funny. There's a lot of humor. So you got that component where people are going to follow you on social media just for entertainment. But you've got a real business with Lightspeed. Because you built your brand, not only through Lightspeed, you've monetized that through a lot of other things. So, you know, for other people who are just starting out, I don't think everyone could be funny. So when you talk about value, if you are someone who's just getting out there, I mean, just putting a camera in your face talking about breakfast probably isn't going to do it. What should people start doing?
Well, believe it or not, I think the key is to flood the internet with your face. That's what a lot of people won't do.
Okay.
You have to post 3 to 5 times a day on 6 different channels. Just get it out there. You're going to suck until you don't. But if you honestly put content out there in an attempt to help people, I think, you're going to attract the right people. The question is, do you have the self-worth to do it? Because a lot of people, they want to talk about everything that they think they should say rather than what they feel and who they are. Because a lot of people, let's face it, they're racist, they're chauvinist, they got issues. So they're not going to show them the real them to the world. And that's the problem, because I think people are attracted to authenticity because there's so little of it. And, when you combine that with value and volume, that's the key. Like, I need to see you more, and when I see you, you're always, serious. The feds today lowered the, money interest, or, at the end of the day, let me see like her, let me see the dog, let me see the kid, let me see you, just be you. That's what I would tell you.
Yeah.
But you don't do it enough. I don't see enough of it. It's almost like you want it to be quality or nothing at all. And see, that's where I think people make a mistake. In order to raise your net worth, you have to raise your self-worth. And to get on social media is no different. You have to actually value yourself and validate yourself. Because if you look for validation from others, that's when you're just posting noise.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, I'm not on social media to make friends. I've been using social media, I think, just about the same time I met you, about 4 or 5 years ago is where I really got onto it. I was one of these guys, my background's in private wealth management. So there's NDAs, you're not really able to talk about some of the clients that you work with. In terms of that industry in general, they kind of frown on social media from a compliance perspective. So I really didn't get into it. I used traditional media, CNBC, Fox Business for 14, 15 years, kind of as that third-party validation, getting my name out there. But when I left and I sold my business and I looked to build a brand and reach out to a larger audience, I knew I was going to have to go to social media. But, somebody told me at the beginning, and just kind of what you're reiterating now, is the way you're talking on Fox or CNBC, dude, that shit's not going to work on social media. You got to talk like you're with your boys in the backyard to be able to understand this. And I think I keep my wife, you talk about my wife who's here, she keeps telling me, they don't understand what the hell you're saying. You got to be simpler. You got to make it easier. But I always struggle with, I want to make sure that I'm providing value. I don't want to be one of those people just out there talking without giving someone some information. And unfortunately, the only value I know might be a little bit more complex in terms of financials. But what type of advice do you have? I mean, just for me, what would you tell me about that?
Well, I would say, depends on what you value, obviously. But bro, like, you can provide value telling me what's in your sandwich. A lot of people will take a picture of what they ate, post it. It's like, you could just tell us how you made that, where to get the finest ingredients, where to get the best deal on the ingredients, what to avoid, what mistakes you made when mastering this dish. It could be anything. But I just ask myself, how does this help somebody? Because if you're honestly trying to help people on a regular basis, bro, only good things happen.
What about monetization? So, kind of back us. I'm not looking to make friends at this age. As a matter of fact, I'm looking to ditch people in my life. Probably like you are at this point. It's not about friends. It's about, I've got to be able to monetize this. And I'm just looking at it, okay, I do TV a lot less now because the truth is I'm able to monetize social media way more than traditional television because that's where the eyeballs are at. And so there's this kind of this balance, right? And I just was reading something in terms of these mega influencers who have, millions and millions of followers, but they can't monetize shit, right? And sometimes they're versus these micro influencers that might have 10 to 15,000 in a specific niche. People really follow them. They have high credibility. So if someone advertises with them, they go on their podcast or anything like that, they're able to turn that into dollars. So, if someone's just starting out in social media, do they need to have a business first, or should they not even think about monetization for a year? What's your advice there?
Well, I think everyone should have a business, period. I think if you want to be successful, at least financially, you have to be in the position to receive commission. Social media just allows you to, get the reach. So again, my formula is probably not as high as it should be. So if you're trying to monetize, you should probably do 70 to 80% relevant content, meaning to what you do. So if I'm a landscaper, most of my content, 70, 80% of it should be about landscaping. So depending on what you want people to do, where you want to drive that revenue, you want to post 70 to 80% relevant to your business. So if like I'm practicing what I'm preaching, I would talk more about training. The problem is the more you niche down, the less people follow you. And so you get stuck with the likes and you want the followers on the mass scale. So you become celebritized, and you don't do that when you're speaking about niche things or niche, depending on how you pronounce it.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So what do you think in terms of, I think a lot of people get obsessed in terms of number of followers. I don't have tons of followers. I got 30-something thousand followers, but in terms of the monetization factor, I think I monetize a lot. People have done some outside statistics and like, dude, you're monetizing at 30,000 versus more than some people are at 500,000. But then there's this whole issue of fake followers. And some people, there's different schools of thought there. Some people are saying, hey, buy the first 10,000 or 20,000. So that way, when you do post something, people are like, okay, this guy's legit. And some people are like, never do that because you're going to ruin your channel. What's your, I've never bought followers. It's obvious at 30-something thousand, but what's your thoughts on that for someone just getting started? Do you go one follower at a time? Do you try to hire one of these agencies to help you look more celebrity, or what do you do? Yeah,
I've never done that. I believe in putting out value and let the people that want to follow you. The goal would be to get people to share, get people to obviously like and comment. That tricks the algorithm. There's little things I do. Sometimes I'll put a misspelling so everyone will tell me I spelled it wrong. That triggers the algorithm. But I would say do not buy fake followers. Number one, they don't monetize. Mm-hmm. Number two, they could actually hurt your credibility, if you ask me. I mean, if I see someone with 3 million followers and I know they're fake, I just think to myself, fake.
Yeah.
And it just makes me doubt them. So I would rather see someone with 30,000 followers than 3 million, as long as they're real. So I would suggest do not buy followers. Do not enter those contests where they, have a celebrity tell people to go follow you. I've never done any of those, but I know people who have, and it's never worked out well.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, I had someone at the beginning say, hey, dude, why don't you just give away something free? That's a great way to get started. And I was like, same thought. I was like, okay, if I give away something free, people will probably follow me, but they're not going to buy shit from me. And at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do is find people who are going to buy stuff from me, or at least, in my world of finance, it's like, okay, if I'm going to monetize this, and hopefully I'm thinking about it right, I might not be selling something directly to them, but I'm building a brand where E-Trade or JP Morgan or somebody else might want to advertise to me. Because my target market's more upstream. I'm not really the beginning investor. However, I get those people following me. So if I had advertisers, maybe you had a beginner product, that still kind of makes sense to me. So maybe I'm too strategic in this, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Or just create a relationship that you can flow those to. I mean, you can still get paid from relationships. Mm-hmm. If you come to me and I'm working with people at this level and you're this level, I'm going to create relationships so I can stream those over to this other person and still collect that monetization. But you can also give away free things that would lead somebody down the path. You know what I mean? You can give away a free, investment program where literally it's interactive, by the way. Mm-hmm. You can ask questions and find out maybe the person that wanted the free investment program actually has some capital. Mm-hmm. Maybe they qualify. And if they don't, right over to someone else. You just create a different division.
Mm-hmm. What about paid ads? Trying to, maybe boosting posts on Instagram or some of these other paid ads, Twitter, whatever the platform might be. What's your thoughts on that?
I would definitely advertise. What's funny with people in advertising, they say if you don't advertise, to not worry because nothing will happen. So I always say advertise for sure. I would boost posts. Boosting posts is just you're paying to get it out there to more eyeballs. But again, I mean, it really depends on what it is you're marketing. But boosting a post just gets more eyeballs. Advertising, I would say, is the number one thing to do. You have to come up with a lead magnet or some sort of, all you want is someone to raise their hand that shows that they're interested in what it is you do. So like if I said, if you're trying to, train your company properly, build a training system, download my free 10-step guide on building the best training system the world's ever seen and increase the valuation of your company. Mm-hmm. Well, if you downloaded that, it tells me, A, you want to increase the valuation of your company. B, you want a training system. Why would you download that if you had no interest? Mm-hmm. So you just have to figure out, who am I looking for, and then create something that only those would download or participate, opt in, if you will.
So let's talk about that. So doing all these things on social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it is, obviously you're building this audience, you're putting money into it, because, even you've got a team around you mm-hmm. that's helping you with this content because you got real businesses to run. So there's an investment in that. But if IG just closes shop tomorrow, you don't have any of that data. So, how should people be thinking about trying to own some of that data, those followers that they're getting on Instagram or other platforms?
Yeah, just opt into a mailing list, and you can download, obvious email databases and things off the internet, so you don't lose them. Anytime you can get their email, that's the best. Their phone number is actually better, but phone number and email, if you can just get them to opt in with their email and phone number, start building a database. If anything happened to social media, you still have most of your audience. You're never going to have them all. Not to mention, when you post something, not everybody even sees it. You think because you post 3 times a day, all your followers see it. That's not true. I would say not even 5% of your followers see it. So when I make a post, I'm thinking, man, millions of people are watching this. They're not. I've gotten some views where like it says, 40 million views in this reel.
Wow.
Well, 40 million views of who? Well, it could be a 13-year-old. It could be someone that have zero ability to help. It's just, they just scrolled by it. Mm-hmm. So when you're trying to monetize, you want to create some sort of filter, like an opt-in filter. Then if someone sees it, there's an opt-in filter. You're not going to catch the people that aren't interested. So if you want somebody with a high net worth to put money with you, you have to figure out, what do those people look for? What would be valuable to those people? And then promote that. And the lesser there is of a market, it just costs more to advertise and find.
So in terms of trying to capture these email addresses, and we've paid some consultants, and the idea about the show, why I have people like you on here are experts. Not everyone could afford the same things a weekend to pay for consultants and those. So one thing I think for the audience that I've heard time and time again, you're reiterating this, is the email list is super important in terms of monetization. I think you said something that maybe is why I worry about it. It's like, am I bombarding them with too many posts? So you're like, dude, most of the people aren't seeing it, but the email sits there. So the email they're more than likely going to get and open. Is that why you're building this email, and maybe even more valuable than just the views you're getting on social?
Well, again, they opted in, gave you their email, shows a hand raise. Mm-hmm. But believe it or not, your open rate in an email campaign sometimes, 20, 30%. Mm-hmm. That's why I highly recommend interactive video, because I get 100% open rate. Mm-hmm. So if you're running an ad, put them on an interactive landing page. That way the video starts asking questions and making the offer inside the video. So if they watch the video, they're going to see the offer. If you try to follow up with an email campaign, you don't even get a high open rate sometimes. But the reason you want the email is so you can reach them off of social media. You can pepper out an email campaign that closes 20% of the people that open it. But let's say you get a 30% open rate. You send out 10,000 emails, 30% open rate, only 3,000 of them open it. And then there's a click-through rate. How many clicked the actual link and went to the offer? That's even lower. So now when you think you sent out 10,000, you really only reached 700 people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you have a 20% closing rate, you're like, we did well. When in reality, if you'd have got 100% open rate, you would have killed it. The cell phone, I think, is still the best. Text. Do you ever miss a text?
No.
You ever miss an email?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get so many emails, dude. I start checking my email, and when I get past page 2 or 3, and I notice there's 12 more pages, I just hit select all, delete. They'll email back if it's important.
So let's talk about that. So you got the email. You're saying post 3 to 4 times a day
on 6 different channels.
6 different channels. So talk about, what do you do? 3 to 4. Like, what are the channels? 3 to 4 posts. How often are you sending email? How often are you sending text?
I don't really send emails, and I don't send texts. People opt into my email list, and then they email me and say, "You don't send anything." It's like, oh, well, I'll send something if I feel like it's worth something, or I want you to know something. But I post 3 to 4 times a day on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Those are in my opinion, the 6 top ones. The top one of them all is YouTube, because people use that as a search engine. So I've never searched in Instagram how to fix a toilet, but I have searched YouTube for how to invest money, for example. So you definitely want to be on YouTube, and every video that you have that pops up for investments, they're going to start to be more familiar with you. So you should be posting a lot on YouTube.
Are you shorts, or what are you doing right now for YouTube? How are you doing that? Are you using hashtags? What are some of the things they can do? Like, so if someone looks for money, someone's going there, hey, I want a wealth advisor. I want to know how to open up an IRA. What type of content? How should I be posting that? What should that look like?
You should stand in front of a whiteboard and start teaching what you know. Like, try to make somebody as knowledgeable as you. And a lot of people think, well, then they don't need me. That's not true. They'll need you even more. But I would stand in front of a whiteboard and just say, Rob Luna back with my, don't get robbed. But I would come up with some little catchy name, and I would stand in front of a whiteboard and I would explain the various things that most people don't understand. What happens when the Fed raises interest rates? What happens when Bitcoin drops? Why is that happening? Because a lot of people don't realize, Bitcoin's dropping. Well, that's because some people are taking their money, right? Same thing with stocks, I would imagine. Stocks go up and stocks go down. Over years, though, they've constantly went up. Just like real estate. A billionaire told me once, the trick to real estate is never sell. Like, have you ever sold real estate?
Yeah.
Do you wish you still had it?
Yeah.
So, like, don't ever sell real estate. Borrow against it, do whatever you want. But, like, explain that, because most people don't understand that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because, as you're saying this, YouTube, at least the last time I checked, is the number 2 search engine out there, which is owned by Google, which is the number 1. And you think about, though, and you're trying to add value. Where can someone add value? I like fishing, for example. And so we just moved here recently to Nashville, and there's a pond in my area. Like, I don't really necessarily know how to fish for bass in a pond, right? And so I went to YouTube, and there's a video for it. Like, here's the lure you want to use, here's the weight, and then this guy's monetizing it through, hey, go over here and buy these lures over here. And so, like, you can literally do it with anything these days.
100%. Yeah. But it's the how-to. So YouTube, I say, is king because of that. People are going to search what's relevant to you, how to invest, how to buy an IRA. And again, to me, there's millions of videos on it. So what you want to do is just flood the internet and title it. The title in search is obviously important, but the biggest way to find new followers on YouTube is going to come from suggested next video. So one of the tricks that we use is you find whatever's trending, whatever video has millions of views.
How do you find that? Just is there something on Google where you could check what's trending?
Yeah. So just look at the top watched videos or top most searched, terms. And you can even drive it back to what you do. So let's say the most searched terms is riots in LA. Well, how does that affect your investments? So it's crazy riots in LA is your title. And then boom, now you're talking about how it affects your investments when these riots take place. So you can always drive it back to you no matter what the topic is. But the suggested next video is the key. And what you do is you look at all the top videos and you literally make your own version of those with the same exact titles. So when someone's watching whatever the popular video is, you become suggested for them to watch it next because it's trying to keep people on the platform. So, hey, this one's titled the same. Let me see if that one will keep them.
Yeah, that's a great tip because as you're thinking about, as you said that, okay, LA riots, obviously everybody's looking at that, but that almost correlates to a lot of things. Like in my business, people are going to say, okay, are the riots impacting maybe companies that are domiciled there, the stock market in general? If you're in real estate, hey, riots in LA, is it time to sell your LA? You can pretty much correlate that back to anything. I think it's a great tip.
Yeah, who's that crazy dude with the rolled up sleeves?
Oh, Jim Cramer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, again, I mean, I followed his advice for a little bit, not literally, but watched it.
Yeah.
That dude isn't very accurate.
It's funny, Megan. I just had Charles Payne out here. That show's going to be coming out tomorrow. He talks a little bit about Jim Cramer. He's right and right. No matter what it is, he's on both sides. So I think he's lost a little bit of credibility there. But,
well, it's also personality driven.
Yeah.
He screams a lot, yells a lot.
He gets attention.
Yeah, he gets attention. That's what it's about. It's about marketing. So again, sometimes when people are too worried about what everybody thinks, they're not going to do as well as someone who doesn't give a rat's ass what anyone thinks. And I get away with it because I think a lot of myself. I mean, I know what I'm doing every day. I get up, I look for ways to help people. I'm not scamming, I'm not lying, I'm not cheating. I'm a good dude. And so I don't need the internet to tell me that I am because I know that I am. So whatever I say, it doesn't bother me. I'm allowed to be me because I like me. And most people aren't able to do that because they need the viewer to like them.
It's a great point, man. I think, a lot of people are looking for those likes or reposts or whatever as validation of what they're doing. And maybe it just comes down to self-love. And I think it's also a little bit about, I've talked about this before. I think the hardest person to sell is yourself, right? And that's, I think I think it's easy for you now. I don't know how that was at the beginning. Maybe we'll talk about that, but it's because you have results. You don't really give a shit about what people think. But I think if you don't have results, that's when you're kind of putting shit out there and say, okay, what do people think about me?
Well, then again, say, I don't have any results whatsoever, but I'm going to try my best. And I want you to follow along with me for 100 days. And let's see how hard this investment shit is.
It's funny, but it makes sense.
And then people will watch you and they'll be rooting you on. And dude, you're not lying.
Yeah.
You're just saying, listen, I don't know jack squat. I told you, what am I doing on the American Capitalist? I'm like I am a capitalist and I am American. So that makes sense. But I don't come on here trying to act like, yes, my investment portfolio, Rob, is year over year, 12.5% on average.
Yeah.
I think the Dow dropping 600 points overnight was traumatic for most people, but I liquidated all my stock in blue steel or Anacott steel. I just keep it real.
Yeah.
And that's what most people should do. If you're a business guy listening to this and you don't have a social media brand, if I were you, I would get on it because it's going to be 5 years from now, no matter what. And tell me, have you not gotten opportunity from being on social media?
Oh, 1,000%.
Deal flow is incredible. I make more with my personal brand than any of my businesses pay me. They pay me $50,000 for a speech. They used to tell me to shut up in school.
Exactly.
Now they pay me to talk. And when I say, what do you want me to talk about? They say, whatever you want. And I'm like, literally, they're like, yeah, just come out. And, I like what you say about mindset. Talk about mindset maybe. And they're literally allowing me to say whatever it is I want. And I don't know why they think maybe I'll sell tickets. I don't know. But $50,000 to go out and talk for an hour. And I'm raising it to 100 because I don't really want to do it as much.
Right.
So you just keep raising your price and then people will eventually stop doing it.
It's funny, but I asked when I was a young stockbroker and I was getting people like I really didn't like anymore. I asked, well, how do I get rid of these clients? He said, raise the price. And then raise it again, raise it again. It's like, hey, if they're willing to pay that, there's a lot of shit you could deal with. If not, they're going to leave anyway and you replace them with someone better.
Yeah, and what's crazy is you lower your effort and increase your income.
Yeah.
So if you're making, let's say, 10,000 a talk and you're doing 100 of them a year, we'll raise it to 20 and half of them won't do anything. Well, you made the same amount of money with half the amount of speeches.
Well, it's funny, there's just more perceived value there too, right? Like if you've got a brand, you're charging more versus somebody, maybe they've got a brand, they're charging half the price. You're thinking, what's wrong with this? I'm not getting something. So price is actually a motivator sometimes for people to pay.
Yeah, not only that, you can always lower it. I've never heard of someone saying, how much you charge? 10,000. And then they go, okay. No, 20,000. But you can say 20,000 when they go, oh, it's not in our budget. Well, who's going to be there?
Yeah.
What's the situation? Let me see if I can, do a little justice for you.
It's kind of like if you want to sell your house for $1 million, you better not list it at $1 million. Everybody wants to feel like they're getting a deal too.
Don't they?
All right. You know what I want to get into, man, is we've talked about this a little bit before. I alluded to it at the beginning, to where I think people see you on social media, you're super funny, you're entertaining, and I think that's one of the reasons that maybe you have such a great brand. And I'll attest to this, man, because like I said, this is all new to me the last 4 or 5 years. Podcasts, social media. So at the beginning, to your point, like I was like, okay, I'll be on your podcast and I'll do this. And I was like, wow, that was a freaking waste of time. That was a waste of time. And so now in terms of raising your price, there's very few things that I do anymore. But the 2 times that I did your podcast, man, in terms of engagement that I got from it, products that we sold from it, it skyrocketed. So I'm here to say, like, your podcast works, your brand works, those are legit. And so, if you, well, let me ask you this. Is it authenticity? What do you think is the reason why there's such high engagement in your following?
Well, because I've never paid for followers. So people that are listening want to listen, and I'm talking about, it's called dropping bombs. So providing the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. Well, that's going to attract people that want knowledge. And usually those are winners. Losers think they know everything. Losers don't need any help. They don't need any advice. Smarter people, I think, know that they don't know everything. So they're listening because they never know who's going to be on, number one. Number two, I'm not afraid to ask whatever. I get rammed for not allowing people to finish a lot. But then again, I'm like, well, go listen to their show. This is my show. Because I'm really just having a conversation, and in real conversations, man, you interrupt.
Yeah.
You don't just sit there and let someone finish. Mm-hmm. It's not a tit for tat. And I don't really do interview. I do conversation. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a conversation. And I think it draws the people that are interested in getting better and growth and personal development and, hacks and tricks and inside tips that will help them in life, business, sales. And then sometimes it's just pure entertainment.
But I mean, just, for me, I'm a new podcast host, obviously. And so my main thing, man, with everything I do, I've got this obsession with time. Like, time is so valuable. We're losing it every single day. And I think the more money you make, the more success you make, you start to value it more. And so if I'm going to do this, first of all, I'm taking time away from other things, taking time away from my family. So I want it to be valuable, but also someone listens to this for 90 minutes or 2 hours, like, shit, they've got to get some value, or forget them not listening. It's like I wasted somebody's time, which I don't want to do. So conversation, I feel like we're having a conversation right now, but I also want to make sure, which I think you've done already, I give people actionable takeaways so when they're done, they can do something. The American capitalism is about, okay, how do you turn advice into money and money into choice, right? So when you're interviewing someone, I think a lot of people are listening to this, trying to get on social media. Maybe they want to start their own podcast. How do you do that in your show? How do you pull value out of people that people could actually take away from listening to that and use in their own life?
Questions. Mm-hmm. Like, how'd you do that? What would be the first thing you would do in this situation? Well, what about this? I'm just trying to think like a listener would be thinking, because listeners are saying, ask this. And then most hosts, they already have their questions. Mm-hmm. I just have a conversation. So I'm just thinking like a listener, because I am technically looking for tips, tricks, hacks, shortcuts. People say there are no shortcuts. Bro, there are shortcuts. Mm-hmm. And, if you don't think there are, go to Wall Street and get on the inside.
Dude, I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, anytime I read a book, I listen to a podcast, what I'm trying to do is learn from somebody who's already done it, because they made mistakes. A lot of what I did, and I say this all the time, I built my first business that I sold. I did good. I should have done a lot better. I learned so much of the shit that I learned at 38 or 39, I could have learned at 30. And if I would have done that, the business would have been worth 3 times as more. I would have gotten there a lot faster. And so I think that's the thing about knowledge and information is there should be shortcuts. There is shortcuts. They're called mistakes. They're called experience. Now, whether or not you decide to take that advice or you want to learn on your own, that's one thing. But when you think about shortcuts in terms of social media, in terms of being able to monetize that brand, is there one shortcut that stands out in your mind where I figured this out like 2 years ago? Shit, if I would have figured that out 5 or 6 years ago, I'd probably have another 0 in my bank account.
As far as social media?
Yeah.
Collaborations, obviously.
Talk about that.
Well, I mean, someone who's got attention, hang around them, get around them, get on their show, get in their social media, do collaborations, build social credibility.
Isn't that hard though, dude? I mean, look, at the end of the day, I feel like one thing I try to tell people, because I think that's what a lot of people say, go collaborate, get, upgrade your circle, do all these things. Like, shit, dude, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have talked to me. Nobody would have talked to me. And when I got onto social media, I think the reason I got a little bit of a head start on social media is I was on regular TV for 12 years. I built a business and sold it. I work with really high net worth clients. So I put in a lot of that work to kind of earn my way into those circles. If I just put a camera in my face and hadn't done shit, I don't know if that would have worked.
Well, what kind of car were you driving?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was driving a nice car when I met you. That's because I sold the business. But prior to that, BMW.
But still, I mean, if you don't really know what you're doing and you're just faking it, you better have a nice car. You better have some money because people will wonder how you got the money and they'll just assume it's based on whatever you're touting.
But I mean, that's, one of the things that I say when I first started as a stockbroker, dude, nobody wants to give money to the guys pulling up in a broke down Kia or a shitty suit that doesn't fit them right. So, I spent money I had a BMW. It wasn't like a Ferrari or anything like that. And I spent money on Boss suits at least because that's what I could afford at that time. But when I say I could afford it, I really couldn't afford it, dude. Like I was spending money that I didn't have to present kind of this image, right? Not a private jet image, but at least an image like, okay, this isn't the first $1 million that this guy has received before. But I think in the back of my mind, like I knew I was faking it. Like I knew I was faking it. I knew I was kind of full of shit. And so what I was doing, I was like going and getting the next degree and trying to get the next client and trying to learn to where at least at some point, going back to the thing I said at the beginning, I had to be able to sell myself and it couldn't be bullshit. So I think, fake it till you make it works. But I think some people like never realize, hey, I'm faking it, and they kind of stay full of shit. So I mean, how do you get around that? Maybe big image at first, but I know you have results to back that up, and I think that's where some of the disparity is in some of these people today on social media.
Well, again, building your self-image is important because you'll never outperform your own self-image. So dressing nicer, driving a nicer car, I think we've all done that. I bought a car one time because they said yes.
That you can afford, that you can finance it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a Mercedes E320. It was badass too. But yeah, I applied just out to see what they'd say. And they said, yeah, come get your car. I'm like, no shit. So I went down there and I'm like thinking, man, I can't afford this payment. I'm like, I'll figure it out. And I signed it anyway and made every single one of them. But
let me ask you there, because I think you're a proponent of this, and I am. Like I come from this industry where, well, first of all, I'll do shit with my own money that I would never do for other people, right? Because my reputation is everything. If I lose money, I'm a big boy. I swallow hard and I do something next, but I don't want to lose somebody else's money. But when you're thinking about that, right? Some of the risks that you take, some of the things that you do now to make yourself uncomfortable. I know on Wall Street, they want everybody like borrowing money, financing this, leasing that, because you've kind of become a slave to that. Like, what's that balance? I feel like sometimes I'm a little too conservative. Most of the things when I look back that I get pissed off about myself is I didn't take enough risk. And every time like I bought a house that was maybe a little bit bigger than I could afford or something else, I always figured a way to do it. And I think it made my mindset go to where, okay, instead of a $800 car payment, now you got a $2,000, you better work harder. What do you think about that?
It's mainly based in fear. You have a fear of going back to nothing. A lot of entrepreneurs do that. They become successful and then they scale back because they're worried about going back to nothing. So in the beginning, if you think about it, they were willing to risk, and that's why they won.
Yeah.
And then once they won, they stopped being willing to risk, and that's why they stay small, or they're somewhat limited. It's all mindset, scarcity and abundance. If I had other people's money, I would invest it more easily than mine.
That's what I love about you, Brad.
Well, I mean, it's yours. Like if I lose it, shit, dude, we gave it a good whirl, didn't we?
Yeah, but see, I think maybe that comes back to brand and personality. People would expect you to say that. If I said that, I wouldn't have shit left. Everyone head for the exit.
Well, that's not true. I think when it comes to giving people money so they can invest it for you as a track record, I'd look at your track record. I really don't care what kind of clothes you're wearing. In fact, if I saw you too flashy, I might think, well, dude, are you taking my money and wasting it, or what are you doing? Yeah. So I'd want my financial planner or wealth advisor to not necessarily be going crazy, unless, of course, he was managing Elon's money or something to where obviously he's very successful financially. But to me, it's easier to invest yours than it is mine. Why? Well, because if I lose yours, it doesn't affect me. If I lose mine, well, then I'm screwed, right? So I would invest yours with the same, thought process, but it would be easier to invest yours.
Yeah.
Well, I'd take a few more risks with yours.
But I think, man, that comes back to brand consistency. I think I spent some time consulting with Costco when Jim Sinegal was the CEO. He's gone now. I forgot the new CEO's name. But I went to Seattle to their corporate headquarters, and dude, we went in and they had us wait in Jim Sinegal's office, dude, and it looked like Costco. Everything was bought at Costco. This is a billionaire, right? Desk was kind of crappy. Everything looked crappy, and then he pulled up in a Ford F-150 truck. But I think back to authenticity, if we would have gone into his office and things were gold plated and he's pulling up in a Lamborghini, you would have been like, what the hell is going on here, man? So, I mean, doesn't it all come back to authenticity? Though I know you joke around saying all these things about other people's money. I think you legitimately feel that way.
I do.
I know you do. But I think at the end of the day, I think I've got to where I'm at in my industry because I don't feel that way. I feel like people invest in me because they know, like, dude, Rob's not going to lose my money. When I started this new business, someone handed me a check for $1 million and said, I don't know exactly what you're going to do, but here it is. I want to be invested with you, because I never lost that guy $1 in 17 years. So
yes, you did.
How?
By not being more risky.
Or flip side of that, I could have took some risk
and made him a whole lot more.
Or lost all of it.
You don't lose. Did you ever put money into something that tanked?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you'd have went all in,
I would have lost everything.
Did you believe in it 100%?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things too. As I've gotten older, I've been doing this for 26 years now. I think my risk management process has changed a lot. And sometimes it keeps me out of things that, you're right. There's situations where, I'm looking at data centers right now, for example. They look really, really attractive. The thing that scares me about them is I don't know where shit goes wrong. And when I can't figure out where shit goes wrong, I usually step aside. 9 out of 10 times looking back, that's helped me. The 1 out of 10 times it does take off, but I think on average that's worked out for me. That's only come from experience, though.
I think I remember you saying Bitcoin was a bad deal.
Yeah, I probably did.
Now you're in it.
I'm in it. Yeah.
You should have got in it at $600.
Yeah, no, I did.
Like when I heard about it,
a lot of Ponzi schemes that people are like, hey, I'm getting 22% interest on this, until
I got whacked.
They lost all their money and their family's money. And so that same sense of risk management, it's prevented me from getting in Bitcoin 10 years ago when I first heard about it, but it's also prevented me from going broke.
Yeah, but you could have got in a little.
Yeah.
So when I heard about it, it was $50. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, can I buy a couch with it, for example? Mm-hmm. And they said, no. And I said, well, what can I buy with it? And they said, well, you can buy whatever you want. And I'm like, well, how do I exchange it? You got to find someone that wants it on the internet, some unknown individual. I said, pass. I still needed my cash at the time. The only reason I got into Bitcoin is because someone owed me $85,000, and it was $600 a piece. Mm-hmm. And they said, do you take Bitcoin? And I'm like, sure, I'll take goats if I know where to sell them. Like, I'll take it. So they transferred me 85 grand worth of Bitcoin, which at the time was 100 and some odd Bitcoin.
It's crazy.
And I was taking it for the company because the company didn't have a wallet. I did. So they gave me 85 grand. And then a week, maybe 2 weeks later, the company got a wallet. And so instead of transferring all the Bitcoin, I transferred 85 grand worth of Bitcoin, which it was already at 1,000 at the time. So it almost doubled in like a week and a half. Wow. And then I watched it go all the way up to 19,000, and then it started tanking. And I didn't know anything. So I said, sell that shit. Sell it quick. We got to get out. It's dropping like everyone said it would. If I would have just held the whole time, I'd have a whole lot more Bitcoin still.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's
that's what I'm doing, by the way, with my XRP and my Ethereum.
Just buying and holding.
I just hold it. If it goes to nothing, it's nothing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, and that's something I've learned as I've gotten older. Look, I was traditionally trained as I started my business as a risk manager, which could be one of the worst things you do because all you're worried about is losing money for the firm, right? So everything comes from a perspective of what can I lose, that scarcity factor versus what can I make. So that's where I started out. And then just traditional finance in general, average brokerage firms out there, what a lot of people don't know is like they're building, I don't want this to get into a finance conversation, but they're building these models that their advisors go out and sell, not to make you rich, but to keep them safe. And so what I've learned over time, I think what you're giving is actually some pretty good investment advice is when you hear about these things, like don't turn your head just because you never heard it before, because those are the things that usually go out the big, but it comes down to size. Maybe for you, it's $1,000 or $10,000 and just giving it an opportunity to wait. And I think that's one of the things in risk management. You don't have to be all in. And to your point, maybe you just put a little bit in there and you kind of wait for that to happen.
Well, my advice to investors who are listening to the show is number one, go follow Nancy Pelosi's investments.
She got some good inside tips, I've heard.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's legal. So like go follow the politicians' investments because they have inside information, but they don't get in trouble for it. So they're legally allowed to invest with inside information. We're not, but they are. So funny. All you have to do is invest what they invest in and you'll be probably very successful. One time I heard right during COVID that Bill Gates owned Moderna or heavily invested in Moderna. So I went and bought Moderna. And then it went up like 3 times.
Wonder why.
I just didn't invest that much because I was worried. So again, if you ask me, it's rolling the dice, but you know, I would double the risk tolerance you have.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's one thing I say about insiders. So insiders like Jeff Bezos or whoever these CEOs are, they've got a file ahead of buying or selling their stock. And so I always tell people, when you look at legal insider trading and you see these filings, I say CEOs like Bezos, and I've been on TV for 10 years arguing about, 10 years ago, they're saying, Bezos is selling stock. It must be time to get out of Amazon. I said, bullshit. All his money is in Amazon stock. So that's the way he pays his bills. So I say, CEOs sell for a multitude of reasons, estate planning, they need liquidity, whatever it is, but they only buy for one reason. And so I think insider buying, when you see them buying, historically, that's been a pretty good time to go in and buy some stocks also.
How do you see anything?
So they file it. They have to do a filing that comes public. And so a lot of times you'll see that come out there. Like a lot of people will file, look at the filing. I forgot the number of the filing. You can Google it, just public corporate filings. If you're an insider, before you can sell, you have to notify the public of, hey, I'm going to be selling in 30 days shares of Amazon. Or when you're buying, you're putting that out there also.
You put that out there?
Yeah, so there's public information on that.
Do you put that out there?
So we actually now, so I don't personally, but my firm now so this is my second firm. My firm now, I think we're close to $250 million. We just launched last year. I think now because of our size, we have to put the information out there also quarterly.
No, I mean, I would subscribe to.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I have a service now where I actually tell people personally when I'm buying and selling. Yeah.
What about Bezos and the rest of them?
It's public information out there.
Yeah,
I think,
but dude, I don't know how to find it.
yeah, so maybe I should be telling people.
You should be. Back to the
Or
social
somebody
media.
else who's trying to build up a channel, they should be out there putting that information out.
Somebody should.
Yeah.
Because that would get people. Like if someone said, hey, you want to know what Bezos just did financially?
it's crazy.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Like there's a whole website. I think it's basically following Nancy Pelosi's investments.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And, it's getting popularity. So like that's the type of thing
That's a good point.
most people, regular Joes, they don't know. Like you say, it's public. Where is it public?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be searching
Yeah, you're
on?
right. Yeah, and I think that's some of the things. I think a lot of things that I think are maybe too simple, they're not. Right. And then probably a lot of
Especially-
people with intrinsic knowledge of whatever their field is are thinking like, everybody knows what type of lawn seed to plant in July. Like, I have no idea. And so I think, a lot of times.
Fescue.
Fescue. Not rye.
What?
I don't know. Bermuda.
No, fescue.
Fescue. Okay. There you guys. If you guys are looking to plant a lawn, Bradley says fescue.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about this, man. One of the things that I look at about you is, you've got it, and like you said, when I'm doing this interview, the truth is I'm asking you some of these questions because I want to know. Like, I'm new on social media still. I'm building a podcast. I want to have the same success that Brad has had. And, when I look at you, I can't be Brad. Brad's Brad. I've got to be Rob, and it might not be as funny as as Brad. So I got to find my way around. But I also, I think when I look at you, you're super funny and hilarious and entertaining. And I think that plays a role in your social media following and your engagement. But also, dude, like, you've been really early on a lot of shit, man. Like, you're a couple years older than me, so I use sometimes my age as an excuse, like, oh, I missed out on that. Like, bullshit. Like, you've capitalized on a lot of things, man. You built Lightspeed, this online training and education platform that's crushing it, like, way before COVID, way before Kajabi, any of these other ones. Like, you were a pioneer there. You've been monetizing social media for a long, long time now. You built this podcast where everyone now is saying, dude, you got to have a podcast. It's the first inning. Call Her Daddy signing $130 million. Like, hey, it's the first inning. Dude, you've been in these spaces for a long, long period of time. Should you be a billionaire by now, like sitting out drinking Mai Tais or something? Because you saw all this stuff, man. And I'm not saying you're not doing good at it. You are really doing great, but you saw this shit really early, man.
Yeah, I do see things early. I recognize, let's call them trends. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I start trends. I'm a trendsetter. I think I would be a billionaire if I could do it over. I would have raised money.
And this is where I'm going. Like, I think you should definitely be a billionaire. And I know you're doing well, and 99.9% of the world wants to be just like you, and they trade bank accounts tomorrow with you. But I look at it, like, part of me is the business I'm in, and I'm like, fuck, because I don't have that creative mind that you have. So I'm a financial engineer. Like, fuck, if I would have got to Brad 10 years ago, Brad should be a billionaire. Like, what would you have done different? I
would have raised money. I would have studied leadership, put leaders in places where I was instead. I think I'm successful in spite of myself. But looking back, I would have raised money. I would have perfected or really embraced leadership, building a team. I'd just say, move out, let me do it. And then I'd, make fun of them and, cap on them. Because I grew up in the car business. So in that industry, all we did was stand out on the lot and make fun of people, make fun of each other, get them spun out is what we'd call it. So if there was a new guy that come on the car dealership or come on the lot to go to work, we would always tell him to go into the GM's office and get the blinker fluid. And they'd be like, where's that? It's right over there. So this new guy would walk into the GM's office, which you don't really want to walk in there and ask for blinker fluid. Stupid stuff. But I always thought, it was fun. Like, if everything crashed for me, I'd just go sell cars. Mm-hmm. People are like, oh, he's a used car salesman. Well, listen, have you ever sold a car?
I haven't.
You've never sold a car?
No.
You've kept every car you've ever owned?
Oh, I thought you meant professionally. I've been a car salesman. No, yeah, I've sold cars.
Well, then you're a used car salesman. But to me, no, I'm a salesperson, and I think if more people embraced the sales side of things, they would be more successful. I should have embraced the leadership side of things, and I would have been more successful. But it's never too late. I'm doing that right now, and I think I'm starting to build a pretty decent team. I'm starting to attract higher caliber people. And I'd say, give me 3 to 5 years, hopefully, and I'll be in a much different category.
Okay, so leadership, when you say that in terms of finding people to lead, maybe in areas that's not your key area of expertise, and then I'm assuming raising the capital would have been able to afford to pay for those type of people to put them in place.
Yeah, I mean, I had to start everything and bootstrap, so I had to make money. I didn't realize you could lose a couple $1 million a year and sell for billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what is that? Yeah. So I was just always trying to be profitable and grow the profit. Sometimes it doesn't go together, especially when it comes to private equity. Yeah. I mean, I had one team come in one time and they said that profit was actually a problem. I'm like, what are you talking about? They said it means you're not taking enough risk. Yeah. I'm like, well, give me your money and I'll risk it all.
You already said you'd do that.
Yeah, because again, I mean, like, if I had somebody else's money, well, I would have, hired a bunch more people, been way more aggressive, and just hired it because, I have it. Mm-hmm. But when you have to pay the bills and you have to cover checks and you have to eat and live yourself, well, then you're real worried about profitability, and there has to be some left over. Well, had I raised money and could have, burned a little over a 3-year period just to raise the ARR, I guarantee you 10 years ago when the getting was good, I could have easily raised a lot of money for Lightspeed. This was before any of them. Mm-hmm. I started Lightspeed in 99, wow. 2000, literally. So there was no learning systems online. How could I could have raised money. I was making money. First one out there.
Profitable in 2000?
Well, profitable, yes, but not by much.
Okay.
But I could have raised money for sure, especially in the beginning. Right. But I had no idea what that was even all about. Yeah. So had I known about that or ran into someone like you where you should have said, dude, let's do you a Series A. Boom, raised 25 mil, burnt through it. What's after Series A? B. Yeah, let's go to B now.
Started seed round actually, then you go to A, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I could have raised easily 20 to 30 million. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still can, and I'm looking into it right now. It's just harder now. Yeah, because the market's a little tough. Not only that, I've been in business 25 years. People are like, well, what? If I started yesterday, it'd be easy.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
You're like, well, I've been 25 years in business. Ooh, that's a problem. Yeah. Like, how is that a problem? It's the opposite of whatever you think.
Well, and that's the point too, man. It's like a lot of this stuff, even though I'm in this industry, I didn't quite get it till later on down the line of how these things work. I started my own wealth management firm at 27 out of my bedroom. And dude, I had to pay my bills. And so when I talk about, okay, when I sold my firm, had I have learned what I knew at 40 when I sold it, it would have been worth 3x. And I think, look, that's kind of easy to say. However, I had to pay my bills from day one. And the problem is when you go into a business and you need to pay your bills, you don't build the business to sell or to get private equity. You build the business to make money. And I did that. However, you don't hire the right people. You do your pricing wrong. You wind up creating almost this trap to where now you're 10 years into it. It's like, all right, dude, are people willing to pay twice of what they are? So it almost becomes difficult. So when it came time for me to sell my business, I'm like, shit, yeah, this is a pretty good offer. Let me do it. Let me start over again today. Now today, I'm building a business where I raised millions of dollars from the beginning. I'm building a business to be $1 billion business. However, I'm only able to do that because I have that reputation. I have that experience and knowledge. I've been able to execute. And now I know the roadmap. I could do that 27. No one's going to give me any money. So I wouldn't be too hard on yourself. And that wasn't the point of this, to say, oh, Brad, why aren't you a billionaire? I mean, you're crushing it. You're doing well. But I think it's good knowledge to understand for people, because I think you were, the sad thing is you didn't have social media back in 99, 2000, because had you have done that, dude, your brand would have been out there. And then what it would have been like, private equity people probably would have, especially at that time, been running to you. They just didn't know that you existed at that time. And that's kind of the cool thing with social media. Okay, so I think today, I mean, you've got it figured out. You're looking to, build some of these things. I've got to ask you, and a lot of people are asking, what's the next big trend? We hear AI, but what does that actually mean in terms of an investable thesis? Or what do you see out there? Where are you putting your time to where, like, you caught social media, you caught this online platform, you caught the podcast? Like, what do you see as the next big trend?
Well, AI for sure is going to be huge. So if someone's not leveraging AI, I would highly suggest they do. I am strongly into AI. There's so much you can do with it. It's ridiculous. I mean,
how are you using it today?
I use it every single day, 100 different ways. I don't even Google anymore. Do you?
Not as much.
Yeah, like
yeah, AI is a lot better. Yeah.
Dude, AI is 1,000 times better. Yeah. But AI does anything and everything. It's going to take a lot of jobs from people, I think, that use their brains, because it can think faster. Like, maybe even you might be screwed, because, like, I could ask ChatGPT, what's the best investment, and it'll probably give me some ridiculous answer, intelligent answer that I used to have to pay for. But I use it for a million things. Creating content, building, curriculum for customers that used to take weeks and months now takes hours. We're creating and embedding AI heavily in Lightspeed, where I can build your course. If you upload your book and want a course out of it, you just upload the book, boom. I can even film you and now have an avatar of you do all the work. So literally now it's just like, I just film you for 20 minutes in my studio, and now I've got a version of you that can say any words I put in front of him. So now people will be able to make courses in 10 minutes. And that's why a brand's important, because what would you rather do? Go to an event, or would you rather take a course from Tony Robbins or Donald Trump or Warren Buffett or Joe Schmeckel? Right? Yeah. So building a name, a brand, is important more than ever, because soon you won't even realize who's real and who's not. But that's why I think, as far as investing goes, I'm starting to look at blue collar industries, because I don't see AI putting a roof on this building. There's people out there doing some work. I don't see AI and robots doing that for a while. So you're going to need AI in your business, but I don't think AI is going to take over the labor part of it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, we're building everything different today, and I think the way we're looking at AI is, it maybe necessarily isn't the next trend, but it's taking everything that you've already done, your podcast, your social media, and just leveraging that 20x, 30x. And then also, like, you talk about having the money today to hire people, leaders, where I think those are going to be the only people that are left, or people that really have a lot of freaking experience that can lead, people that have a personal brand. The rest, dude, that's going to be all algorithmic AI that's going to take over that stuff.
Well, John Maxwell says leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. And I was listening to his book on the way here, and I thought, well, then that makes me a leader, because I influence influencers, which is kind of funny. So if leadership is just influence, well, then maybe I have hope. But dude, like AI, man, I bet you if right now I typed it in and trained it on who you are and what you do, and said, give me a social media strategy that will get me 3 million followers in a year, it'd go, and there's your plan. And that's what most people are lacking, a plan.
Right.
So AI can make plans. It can do research. I can have it go research things. People give me a contract, I throw it in ChatGPT before I send it to a real lawyer. And I've eliminated my lawyer on 90% of the things.
Dude, it's a great tip for listeners out there, because we were just doing, I don't even remember what the contract was. It was a new employment contract. I've got people in different states, but my attorney was busy, and he said, well, hey, like your initial contract, just send that over there. I'll look over it, probably take 3 or 4 hours. And then he said, I forgot the name of the clause, but I basically took the contract we had and I said, add this clause and this clause. I wrote the thing up for me. I send it back to him. I kind of lied a little bit. I said, hey, I have someone else that we do some work with. Put this in. What do you think about it? He's like, I might make one change or two, but it's pretty much there. And that probably saved me $1,800 by doing that. So kind of scary for, like you said, me. I think every profession, dude, attorneys, accountants. I mean, we have an accounting business now to where, dude, it's crazy. We get our companies, say we're working with Lightspeed. You have various different vendors that you're using, software vendors, telephone vendors, where we can run an algorithm on their P&L and then go out to all these softwares and say, hey, dude, did you realize that because you're at 250 people, you should have a breakpoint that you're not getting? Oh, by the way, there's these other 3 competitors. If you want to move over to them, we could save you 22% a year on that. So we're able to do this in 12 minutes, which would have taken my accountants 2-3 days before to do that. I mean, it's crazy. So I agree with you on that. So look, you're giving a lot of good advice. I know one thing you talk about, I mean, I think you're probably your greatest skill besides your personality is sales. And at the end of the day, we're all selling something. I'm selling this podcast. I'm selling my services. For someone who says, like, I suck at selling, which I don't think you could say that anymore, what's your advice for them?
My advice would be focus on your mindset first, because that's the problem. If you think you suck and you don't think you can get better, that's a mindset issue. That's not a sales issue. There's a growth mindset. There's a fixed mindset. A growth mindset says you think you can get better at something. All you need to do is practice, which I just have one of those. I think I can get good at anything. When it comes to investing, that's really just guessing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's educated guesses.
Educated guess, yeah, absolutely.
That's why when people are like, I'm the best sports picker in the world. Dude, you're the best guesser, maybe, but at the end of the day, it's a guess. Like I got lucky. Bill Gates owns Moderna. That's going to go up. Why? Because Bill Gates was in it. I guessed, and I was right. Well, when they started talking crap about the vaccine, I got out because I thought it's gonna crash. Well, I'll bet you, I don't remember what it is. What is it right now? My phone's
Moderna.
not on.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it in a while.
But I mean,
probably not as good as it was then.
I wrote it up. I just didn't. I didn't put enough in. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal. But man, imagine investing like 50 million and then it moves this much. Mm-hmm. Well, that much times 50 million is a lot.
Yeah.
So if I were giving advice to the American people on this podcast, I would say, number one, I would go get the paid account for ChatGPT or, a number of them. There's a number of them out there. I would get a large language model and I would start asking it questions and teaching it who you are and what your business does. Mm-hmm. I uploaded my financials and asked it some questions. And obviously don't lie. That would be stupid. You got to tell it the truth. And you now have an expert at everything at your fingertips. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these course creators, they're going to be screwed without a personal brand because like people are going to want to have access, your buddy, Sean Ryan, like what makes him so special? Nothing. People like him. People like, people want to be around him. He's built a brand. Eventually information will be free. Mm-hmm. When I upload that agreement, I say, which side has the advantage? It'll go, brrr. I'll say, what would you change about it? Brrr. Where am I exposed? Brrr. How would you change that? Brrr. And then it even says, like, you want me to redline the thing? You want me to do this?
Yeah.
So I was going back and forth with somebody to make an agreement. And I uploaded it to ChatGPT and in 10 seconds shot them an email back and said, here's the problem. And then they said, well, what about this? Boop. ChatGPT. They said, okay, we fixed it. ChatGPT, is it fixed? All but one were fixed. I shoot them back. And this is all happening. Bing, 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 bing. And we're both use ChatGPT because it doesn't happen that fast. Lawyers don't answer that fast.
Right.
But if you're not leveraging AI, dude, you're in big trouble. Mm-hmm. It's coming, and it's not a fad. And so you were talking about data centers. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting hit up a lot.
Yep.
one of the guys here is local. I think you might know him.
I do.
He keeps talking about he's raising $1 million a day just for data centers, and he'll pay you X amount. And I'm thinking, like, what's the catch? There's got to be a catch. Well, Elon Musk, he's building data centers. So again, I mean, data centers might be the way to go, because AI is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it needs data.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Elon's building his own. So are all those ones you're investing in right now going to be empty soon as these huge people build their own? Are they temporary because it has to be there, but pretty soon there's going to be, underground bunkers filled with data centers that they own personally, and now all that investment's going to drop because now there's just going to be excess data centers.
Well, I like you versus bringing some like rocket scientists to come on here and talk about AI. I like somebody who's out there actually executing on it, because a lot of people, I think, first of all, most people that I am listening to in regards to AI, I think they're underestimating not only the impact, but the speed of which it's going to happen. Like, this isn't 10 years away. First of all, it's happening now. Jobs are going away. It's actually even been part of my investment thesis on some of these older companies like UPS. Someone's like, why the hell are you buying UPS? They've got pension liabilities. They've got all these people that are stuck there making $180,000 when FedEx, because their contractors make $60,000. And all these people, all this talk about these legacy issues, I said, that's exactly why. Because those people are going to be gone, and they're already talking about it. And so all those big expenses that they have, UPS will continue to deliver packages. That's actually going to become more prominent. But the amount of people that they need with the benefits and all these things and pension liabilities, those things are going away. So I don't think people, it makes me worried about the average person out there, because they're going to be displaced, which is why, again, I'm doing this show and bringing on people like yourself to say, like, I think, and you've been telling me this for a long time, I think I maybe even undervalued the power of personal brand. It's like, dude, you got to start building that today. And in this economy 3.0, you've got to find your own micro way to be able to monetize that.
Dude, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think just that. I think you're still going to have, to your point, the blue collar workers. No one's, look, eventually robotics, and I do a lot of research on robotics, it is an issue. You're going to have people on the assembly lines, but they're probably not going to be cutting your hair right now. They're not going to be up fixing tile roofs. They're not going to be out mowing the lawn right now. Eventually, could those things happen? But I'm too old to worry about that. That might be 30 or 40 years down the line. I think most people are. So I think those jobs are going to be there. So I think if you're a young person today, and I actually think a young person today should go into those trades, HVAC and all those things. But to your point, build a brand around HVAC or landscaping, and you can. A lot of people don't think you can. And then build a business that you can monetize that. That's what I'd be having people do today. Or if they're going to, I think education, look, I'm a big proponent of education. I think the traditional education system is so obsolete. It doesn't work anymore. Unless you're like, I'm talking to my daughter who's getting ready to apply for college, where she's probably going to go pre-med. She's going to get her PhD, go out and practice medicine. But even then, I'm teaching her about when you have that PhD, then it's about building a brand and how do you build and scale practices along that. But outside of things like that, dude, I mean, college, like, you go get a business degree or an MBA today. Like, what the hell do you do? I don't need you and your 26-year-old MBA to come work for me today.
Yeah, for sure. I can tell you this, medical care, for example.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of free medical care?
I've heard of it. Doesn't usually work out too well.
Well, it's about to hit the market. Just did a podcast with a guy. He invented this thing called doc.com. It's all AI driven. So you open up the app, you type in your stuff, it reads your face, tells you your blood pressure, your temperature, it's reading your pupils. I mean, it tells you unbelievable vitals that you wouldn't even realize it's able to read through just a camera, AI-driven camera. And then it will literally ask you a series of questions, connect you with a doctor, because right now a doctor's still necessary, and the AI spits out everything for the doctor, and the doctor just goes, yes, 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 authorized. And it's literally free.
Well, that's the point, I think. Look, I think you're going to have to be an expert at something. And I don't really care what it is, dude. I've seen people worth hundreds of millions selling pallets to Home Depot, landscaping businesses that they run. I don't really care what it is, but you got to be good and you got to be an expert. And then you got to figure a way to scale. And I think that's, to me, the exciting thing about AI, dude, is it's going to allow you to take your personal brand, your expertise, and if you embrace it now, and I think it's just going to get better and better and better to be able to scale that to where it's funny. My team and I are talking about this. Andreessen Horowitz, big private equity firm, private equity venture capital firm out there in California. These guys are having bets right now to what's going to be the first $1 billion valuation one-person business. And you could say bullshit, that's not going to happen. I think it's going to happen. Like those things are coming. How is it going to be done though? Through AI. So look, I think the economy is going to shift. It's going to change. I wrote a book called Close Your Wealth Gap. I think the wealth gap actually gets wider. I think the people who understand and pick up on this stuff continue to make more and more and more money. I think the people down at the bottom aren't going to do much. It's the people that in the middle are going to have to start figuring something out. But the cool thing is about it, dude, today, like my podcast, your podcast, YouTube, there's so much free information. If you're stuck there watching like, what's Love Island and Love is Blind, and like that's how you're spending your free time and you're just listening to 80s rock or whatever when you're working out, dude, switch that on to a podcast or switch it on to a YouTube channel and start learning how to do this, because you're not going to learn it in school. And someone who sat on admission boards from some pretty reputable schools out there, dude, the way academics moves, the politics, by the time they get this shit into practice over there, it's going to be gone on to the next thing. So I'm worried about the education system. I'm worried about the average worker, but I'm also optimistic for people who want to open their eyes and ears of what's going on and embrace it and get off their ass and do something. Because I think it's also a monumental time to be an entrepreneur and to go out there and be as wealthy as you want to be, but you got to have the right mindset.
Do you know what entrepreneur literally means?
No.
Someone who takes greater than normal financial risk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But today I push back. Like this is definitely one of those risks if you don't take it. And I'm somebody who's worked with executives that are making $1.5 million, $2 million a year, but they were spending $1.5 million, $2 million because they're still young, 35, 40. And then all of a sudden they have cutbacks. Those are the first guys to go. When you're 39, 40 years old and people are cutting back and you're used to $1 million to $1.5 million salary, you haven't really saved too much. The job market isn't too easy for people like that. To where if you've built your business, I'd rather be making half of that, but be able to work more, have more control. And I know you feel the same in terms of owning your own income.
Yeah, I think everyone should start a business no matter who they are. Mm-hmm. At least a side business.
Right.
And then build it up. Just have it there just in case. But with AI now, dude, you can literally have a business coach. Hey, my name's Bradley. I'm this age. This is what I'm doing. What do you suggest for finding customers? It'll tell you how to find the customers. What do you suggest about the pricing? It'll do the research and tell you where your pricing model should be. Like, there's no reason someone shouldn't start a business. Other than that, I would say do what's called AI prompt engineer. So what you say to the AI to get it to think is critical.
Yeah, I learned that a while back.
Yeah, so like I do little secrets that I've learned along the way. Like when you're done prompting your AI, say, ask me any questions you need to do this the best. And it'll ask you questions that maybe you didn't feed it. So you can ask it to ask you what it needs to do the thing you want it to do. Mm-hmm. So now every time I'm done, I just type in, ask me any questions you need to do this the best, enter. And it'll be like, okay, these questions. And then I answer those questions. And then it says, okay, and then is there any other questions? Nope, I got it. Brrr. And when it's done, it's like, you want a PDF of that? You want a workbook? You want me to do this? You want me to do, like, it's literally laying out the red carpet for you. Mm-hmm. The only thing I find is it's a little bit patronizing. Mm-hmm. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. It kind of like wants you to like it, right?
But I even tell it, stop sugarcoating. Yeah. Don't hype me up, because everything's excellent catch. Yeah. Like, is this the best it can be? Well, it's pretty darn good, but if you really want it to be the best, I'd suggest these things. And then I'm like, okay, perfect. Will you add those? Okay, those are added. Is this the best it can be? Well, it could be better if you did this. And I'm like, why didn't it just say that the first time? Yeah. So I wouldn't totally trust AI, but give it another year. And dude, AI will be the smartest thing that you have access to, period. And again, these gurus and these coaches out in the world, dude, you're not going to need them as much because AI is a better coach and a better expert than anybody.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like people who don't believe that are in a lot of trouble.
When I'm doing closer school, I teach people how to sell on this thing so I can show people how to use Lightspeed. So I still do it.
Yeah.
It's fun. But again, people are there because of me.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Right.
Like they don't need me to give them an objection or a rebuttal. But I'll use AI and I'll show them what I'm doing. So I'm teaching them to use AI, even if it costs me a customer. Why? Because A, I don't really care. And B, because that's what I do. I'm trying to help people. So if you're in the world and you just focus on helping people, I think you're going to be fine overall. Again, obviously there's an exception for everything, but I'm showing them when they say, hey, Brad, what would you say if someone were to say this? I go, Chat GPT. But what if someone says this in this industry, ask me any questions, they ask whatever questions, I answer them. And then I go, give me 5 killer responses to this objection. And it spits out 5 killer responses. Well, what about this? Boom. Give me 5 more. Boom. Give me 5 more. Boom. It's like, what do you need a sales coach for?
So you're kind of selling against yourself, but you're trying to give them the
I don't care.
Yeah.
If nobody ever wants to talk to me again, that's cool.
Yeah.
And if all my businesses go south and now I'm broke, well, that's my fault. You know what I'm saying? I'll come work for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I think your hands, it's going back to hands. You know, I'm going to call somebody to come fix my toilet. Plumbers, HVAC, roofing, siding, landscaping, paving, construction. I don't see AI doing that for a long time. Now, when you see robots walking around job sites, I'll change my tune. But right now, I see AI taking out a lot of thought-based jobs. Dude, someone called me the other day. They said, how much you pay for your bookkeeper? And I said, why? Because I knew what they were going to say. Because we have an AI now that'll do a better job than your bookkeeper. How much is it? $200 a month. So $200 a month, you'll have an AI bookkeeper do everything my bookkeeper does for $6,000-7,000. Yes. Boom. Buy bookkeeper. Now all of a sudden you have AI bookkeeping. You have AI customer support lines. You have AI salespeople. You have AI everything that has to do with thought and communication. But dirty hands, AI is not setting up these cameras. You know what I'm saying? Somebody has to do the work. So I'd be focused on what industries require work, labor, not thought, because the thinking part, I think, is about to change dramatically. Lawyers, accountants, even doctors. There will be AI robotic operations way before
there's already intuitive surgical, so they're using robots to actually edit with a higher success rate than manual operations in some
1,000%. But I mean, I see AI doctors way before I see AI plumbers, because again, someone says, well, the doctor has to slice.
More money in that than cleaning toilets too.
I know, but the little robotic operators, that's just right here. I see that quicker than replacing a toilet. You got to get to the house, do all this, do all that. But folks, you say I'm early on things. I'm telling you.
You guys should listen, because I already called it podcasts, social media, online learning platforms. This dude is way early to all that stuff.
I just kind of see what's happening, and it's going to go back to where the laborers are the rich people.
Yeah. Well, at least the ones who are orchestrating it on scale. Maybe not the guy pulling the mower himself, but the guy who has 50 people pulling those mowers for him.
Hey, that's businessman.
That's businessman.
Yeah. So, but the labor is the business you want to be in and invest in, if you ask me.
I agree.
Or learn to be an AI prompt engineer. I mean, there's businesses right now that have no clue. Remember when websites came out and then social media came out? Dude, you could walk into a business and say, let me manage your social media for $3,000 a month. They'd hire you to do it for $3,000 a month. You go to Hootsuite and you program, a month worth of posts, take you 4 hours. And now that whole thing's automated for all month long, and they're just happy as punch with their social media, and you went and got 20 of those. Now you're making 60 grand a month as a 19-year-old kid because you understood social media.
That's the exciting thing, man. There's a lot of fear that I have for the people who aren't going to get it, but for the people who get it and wake up and take action, I think there's a huge amount of opportunity, more opportunity than we saw with the internet. Because I think the internet, like that Web 1.0, like you had to be the Microsofts, the Oracles, but now the platforms have been laid with Shopify and all these tools that are out there, dude, where the average person, if you don't need a college. As a matter of fact, there's no college degree you can get right now. The learning is on time, is real, online, on time, in person. Like go work for someone like yourself or someone who else is executing, and then go out there and execute. But that's the opportunity. I want to shift a little bit now, kind of to the personal side of Brad Lee, some of the side that, and he's like, oh shit, that people don't know, and being a friend of yours kind of for years. I want to, kind of pull the cover back off the ball a little bit with you because, I talked about this half kidding that I'm trying to get rid of people as friends at this point in my life, half kidding about that, but maybe not. I've got a really small circle. And I think, one thing about this podcast is I bring on people who've been really successful like yourselves. And everyone kind of says the same thing for one reason or another. They don't have a huge circle of people that are there. They've got a small circle of people that they're in. And, while you're part of that circle for me is, I think maybe some people see this. I mean, also though, you put out some things like on social media about, what do you call it? The magic hamper? Where magic floor where like your clothes don't stay on the floor because your wife picks them up. But I know you, man. I've been around you several times with your family. I can't say I know anyone in my inner circle, and I think they all do, but that cares more about their family than you do, right? I mean, you genuinely put your kids before everything, your wife before everything. Great family man, loyal husband, probably one of the most generous guys I know out there. My wife and I, whenever we go out to dinner with you, we got to get there early to make sure that we get our credit card to somebody or we know that Brad's going to pay for it. And like one thing I love about you, man, is that like you were just saying before, like if I get put out of business because I'm giving people value, good. And I think what I worry about with you is when you see this big social media brand, right? And you get lumped in with a lot of, I won't name people, but I think shitbags that are out there because you got this big personality. And I think, dude, one thing I know about you also is you don't judge people. You're open to everybody. You want to help everybody that's out there. And what I worry about is like, how do you protect yourself from that? Because I think you get lumped into that. How do you decide at this point, like who do you let into your inner circle, who don't? Because not everybody that's got a big following or people that might use Brad Lee to co-sign for them care about people and are delivering value to people. And I worry about that. What do you think about that?
Well, there's truth to it, but I have a saying, don't change the way you treat people, change the people you treat. So you can't let bad people turn you bad or negative. You learn, you move on. But to me, it's like I've been screwed before, and I'm sure I'll get screwed again. But if you stop, meeting people and taking chances, then I think they screwed you. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's just, number one, there's no such thing as balance in my book. There's priorities. And if you're going to lose your business or lose your family, which would you pick? Mm-hmm. So that's why the family comes first, because it's just priorities. If I had to lose one, I'm going to lose the businesses. So it's fairly easy, but I'm still guilty. If Melissa was here, I'm sure she'd argue with you on a couple of things. But not only that, dude. I made mistakes as a youngster. Yeah. I have 7 kids from 4 women. The first 2 were not even like they weren't even my girlfriends. Mm-hmm. They were just an occasion or I don't want to say an accident. They were learning lessons. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately I made some mistakes on the first 2. Then the next 2 was from a marriage that unfortunately had to end. well, not unfortunately, or I wouldn't have my current wife and kids, but I kind of made mistakes there. And so now this is my third, go around with kids. And so now I've learned. So we all make mistakes. You just got to keep rolling with the punches, keep getting better. It's all about getting better. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's just all I'm trying to do is just get better. Like right now, I told you leadership, I was terrible. Well, I got to get better at leadership to where now 3 years from now, someone will be like, Brad, how did you become a billionaire? Well, I recognized I sucked at leadership. I missed all kinds of opportunities. So I started developing my leadership skills, started to attract better people, and then the better people, did better things, which is what I should have done from day one. But, to me, I don't really, you said, how do I, handle it? Well,
I guess so same thing here. I'm on my second marriage. Got married when I was 19 the first time. Who the person you are at 30 is way different than 19. I was married 25 years, and I take a lot of responsibility for that. But from that experience, I made a lot of changes because I saw what I did wrong, and now I'm on my second marriage, and I've got we have a son, Lincoln, who's 16-year difference between my daughters. So I've learned a lot of things as a father, as a parent, importantly as a husband that I want to change, that I'm implementing now into my life. And I think that's the main thing. I think some people just continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. And so, look, we're all trying to grow and improve, but there's things that I learned that I'm implementing. And so in terms of business, and like you have a much bigger brand than I am. And so I know the people that are approaching you all the time, and I get it a lot, right? I'm trying to use, like I told you, if I go into an investment and if I can't see the risks, right or wrong, I'm just out of it. So I use kind of these rules of thumb, if you will, to kind of delineate, okay, who's good, who's bad. But to your point also, I think one of the cardinal sins is just to think, oh, everybody's going to screw me no matter what I happen, because that's going to close you off to what could be a huge opportunity. But I think you have to have some guardrails around these relationships.
Yeah, I'm getting better at them. I'm kind of new to believing that I'm some sort of celebrity mm-hmm. and some sort of credibility. Mm-hmm. Like to me, it's like, that's odd, but I think I'm getting better. I just look at how they treat people. I look at how they treat their family. I look at how they operate, and if they're not, if they show signs that they're like, again, if you'll cheat on your wife, I'm sure you'll cheat on your business partner.
For sure.
So if you're looking at their behavior, right, and their words aren't aligned with their actions, then it's a big red flag. And, there's not a lot of people in my quote unquote inner circle. If you were wondering, how many are in there, not a bunch. And it's funny too, because if you ask a lot of these highly successful people, how big's their inner circle, the answer's small, because everybody seems to want something.
Right.
But because of my generosity, I don't worry about it. Like, if I have it, you can have it. Mm-hmm. I just think to myself, you have a choice. And I think ultimately that is the power we all have, is choice. It's called free will. And you can choose to operate in a frequency or an energy, if you will, a vibrational frequency. We all operate in a frequency. And you can choose the frequency you operate in. So you can choose generosity, or you can choose, what's the opposite? Greediness.
Stingy prick.
Yeah. So, to me, I like to just choose what I call heavenly energy. I think the universe is a frequency. We're all in an ocean of motion, and you can be greedy or you can be generous. You can be kind or you can be, mean. You can be open or you can be closed. You can be abundant or you can be scarce. And it's really just a choice. So I try to just choose heavenly energy, right? Wake up, find extreme gratitude in just getting the day. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like every day to me, I have the advantage because I am excited just to be alive. Most people, they take that for granted. I'm excited that I look good, feel good. I feel like I did when I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
I think I look pretty good for 56, even though I got freaking black eyes today. But like, to me, it's like, dude, you can, that's another thing. It's like some people would cancel. Oh, I don't want to be seen looking like this. It's like, dude, listen, if you're not going to like me because I got a black eye, if you're not going to like me because I got a bald spot in the side of my head, like, are you really worth anything anyway? So you just go out there, be kind, choose the right energy, and continue to operate in a heavenly frequency. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to be just fine. If not in this life, definitely the next. So I don't worry too much about things. Like who's out to get me and who's out to use me. Because again, if I can help you, let me help you. Now, I don't want to platform a scumbag.
Yeah.
You know,
that's kind of what I was getting at too. Like, how do you balance this, who you are as an individual? And like I said, I think you are overly generous, right? And you're going to get people that are, you know, either earlier in their career or even late in their career. There's people late in their career with a lot of followers that are falling, and they're going to kind of latch on to anything that's good. And the thing that I'm here, look, I'm in my word, I think just kind of the way I grew up and why I've been good in business is I tend to under promise, over deliver. If I say something to somebody, I'm going to do it. I'm always worried, like to your point about losing people money, or I spend time about up last night. Am I going to bring on Brad? Am I going to deliver enough value? I worry about all those things. And so I know you're this generous person who wants to do good. And by bringing you here, I feel no matter how small or large my audience is I'm bringing you here because I believe in you, right? And if I thought you were some scam artist, even if you could bring 1 million followers to me tomorrow, you wouldn't be here. So I'm kind of always worried about whoever I associate myself with. And I try to, at the same time, I want to be accessible to everybody. But what's your filter right now at this point?
Really just their track record, you know, that's all I can go on.
Do you ever see something maybe early on, or like, hey, if there's this one, like obviously the way they treat their family, or are there things you're looking for where if you don't see, or they don't keep their end of a bargain in business, or there's certain things?
Anything like that, yes. You know, those are obvious. But the problem is, you know, you never know.
Yeah.
Like with my podcast, there's a couple ways you can get on. You can be invited or you can sponsor one. So a lot of these guys, they're paying $25,000 to sponsor the podcast, and then they want to be on it. Right. That's, they sponsored it. So they're like, well, I'll be the guest. And I'm like, okay, fine. So at the end of the day, it's hard to know, but I also, my audience knows just because you're on my podcast doesn't mean I endorse you. And I'll root you out on the podcast if you're full of shit.
Yeah.
But to me, it's harder to tell. Like, I don't know. I'm not, you know, I trust a little too much, I think. But, you know, I would rather be too trusting than not trusting enough. What would your advice be to me?
Yeah, I think, look, I feel, you know, at the end of the day, like you said, it's impossible to tell up front, right? Now, there's some outward signs sometimes, like you just get a feeling of like what this person is saying. And it might not be like right away, but after a week or two, you're like, it's just not consistent with what, you know, what they're maybe saying on camera is not consistent with the decisions that I see off camera, which in and of itself might not be a red flag. But I think at some point, if you continue to validate, this is for anyone out there, validate that, then like you said, they come on your podcast, no big deal. But it's like, okay, now if it's too close and people start to think that I'm endorsing people, then it becomes an issue. And that's what I worry about, because it's like, okay, by me just being here and not saying anything, am I validating what this person is doing? And I don't know that I'm the person to give you advice, because my wife will say the same thing about me. You're too generous. You don't catch things. Where I feel like my wife, I don't know, and maybe it's just women, dude. 99% of the time she'll pick out, that's a shit bag. Don't hang around with them. And she's right. Even when I don't know what to tell you. And so I was asking you.
Yeah, women have good intuition when it comes to those things.
They really do. Let me ask you this. Like, everyone sees Bradley, good looking dude. He's crushing it on social media. Everything, he looks almost impenetrable. What's your kryptonite? What do you worry about? Like, what's your biggest fear?
Let's see. My biggest fear would be dying and not going to heaven. because the alternative, from what I hear, is not very good.
That's a pretty big fear.
Yeah, I mean, the alternative, from what I hear, isn't a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my biggest fear. I don't really fear too much other than, obviously I fear plane crashes. I fear, 6 dudes jumping me. I fear all the normal stuff, but I believe that this is just a temporary stop in life. And I think we're supposed to be experiencing and having fun and enjoying it, because I think this is not it. So in my mind, I'm just happy to be here. I stay grateful, and when you're grateful, it's kind of hard to be fearful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But there's earthly energy, fear, doubt, envy, greed, worry, shame, all of that. Then there's generosity, courage, happiness, joy, love, all that. Well, one's heavenly and one's earthly. Well, if you have a choice, which would you choose? Well, I'm not going to really focus on the fear, even though, sometimes I'm afraid, but I'm not really too afraid of much.
About hot air balloons.
I would be afraid of letting everybody down. Yeah. If I had to go broke, and now we're in the age where it's you're either super wealthy or you're super broke, I would fear that. I would fear not being able to order everything at the restaurant.
Yeah, that's one thing about Brad. Like, I don't. If you go to sushi, I think it's 2 of everything on the menu, right? You don't.
Well, I like to sample. My dad, when I was young, used to tell us what we were going to eat, mm-hmm. and it would be one thing.
Yeah.
And so now I order everything because I can. And not only that, they don't have one plate with everything on it. If they said, "Hey, there's an everything plate,"
that'd be you.
I'd say, "Yeah, give me the everything," because I like a variety. So for breakfast, crepes, they don't taste the same as pancakes, mm-hmm. and those don't taste the same as waffles, and those don't taste the same as French toast, right?
Yeah.
And then, eggs, fried eggs with dipped toast in it. That's delicious. Omelets prepared well. That's delicious, right? So now you need omelets and you need eggs, bacon and sausage, 2 different things. I'm not a big fan of ham, but like you just want a variety of things. You want to experience the menu, and especially desserts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people come up with a dessert menu and they say dessert, and I say, "How many do you have?" And they say, 6. And I say, "Bring them all." They're like, "Are you serious?" Well, yeah, I got to know which one I like for the next time I come. And if I don't like 2 of them, which I've never really tasted a dessert I don't like, then I'll know better which one. You got me thinking though, because what do I fear? I would want to say I kind of fear being broke, mm-hmm. because of the assumed things that would happen.
Lack of choice.
Well, not only that, but like, letting people down.
Yeah.
I would hate to not be able to provide for my wife and family.
Yeah.
I would not be able to, do the things I do today. So I fear that. But at the end of the day, I really don't, because I remember being broke and it wasn't that bad, dude. I didn't know any better, right? I didn't know what it was like to be rich. So,
but that's maybe the difference today, though. That's what I always say. I've been really poor and I've been not really poor. And so I know what it was like. When I didnn't know, it was like, I say ignorance is bliss.
That bad. Be honest.
It was bad, dude.
Not that bad.
It was pretty bad.
I mean, I'm always going to be able to survive. But
I mean, you were homeless on the beach at one point, weren't you?
Yeah.
It was pretty bad, right?
Not really.
Because you had the beach?
No, because it just wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, there's bad. And then there's, you don't have as many choices.
Yeah.
But, I always had food. I could always figure it out. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I'll always figure it out. That's why,
yeah.
I say I fear going broke, because I never would want to be, which is why I got to get serious with investing. I need real estate. I know that that's a good investment. Mm-hmm. I don't like stocks because you have to know what you're doing, and I don't. Mm-hmm. So I think if I were to just sell one of my companies and get a big, large chunk of money, I'd give you some. You apparently have a good track record. And then I'd probably go put a nice big chunk in tax-free municipal bonds, so it's guaranteed. And then I'd take the rest and piss it away for the next 20, 30 years and just enjoy. Because we're all dying, bro.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Right now, are you building for lifestyle or legacy?
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, legacy, listen, when I die, I have insurance. First of all, they'll have enough. And like if I die, they'll actually get more than if I stay alive.
Yeah, I don't want to have that conversation.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, me and my wife had that conversation the other day. Yeah. Well, I mean, the nice thing about life insurance too is tax-free, right? They get it tax-free. It comes right away. No probate, no nothing. And it's.
But then again,
I've got a lot of life insurance.
If I die like Melissa, she needs to find another dude, right? And she more than likely would. Now, if she guaranteed me she wouldn't, I'd make sure she had enough money the rest of her life. But she will. They all do. They all love you until you die, and then they're done. You ever saw that video where basically, once you die, there's like a couple months they're mourning, and then, a couple more weeks they're, sad, and then a couple of weeks after that, you're forgotten.
There's kind of a quotient that 3-4 months and then they're past you.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I know people that have died. Like that was a while ago. Yeah. Everybody's moved on. Yeah. Like nobody just sits around and is sad the rest of their life.
Time heals all wounds, right?
It's unfortunate. And I'm sure there's women who's had husbands die and now they're with their new husband. And I'm sure they still love their old husband. But at the end of the day, it's like, dude, how much could you have loved them if you could move on?
That other added component, just like mine, your wife's a little bit younger than you too.
Yeah, but someone asked me the other day, you wouldn't want her to be happy if you died? And I said, no, I would not. I would want her to be sad the rest of her life. Honestly.
Truth.
I really do.
No, I believe you.
I do not want her to be happy and move on. Okay, I want her to be sad and celibate, and that's it. She's done. If I'm done, she's done. Just like if I could, if I was going to go down in a plane crash, I would want her with me. Is that bad?
Yeah. I know you and I love you, man. So it's not bad. It's you, and I think she would expect that answer from you.
Well, I mean, I'm just telling the truth. I wouldn't want to die alone.
Well,
if I'm going, she's going. Now, my kids are a different story.
Right.
And the other day, someone was arguing with me that health is the most important thing. I said, no, actually, I think relationships are more important. He said, what are you talking about? If you don't have your health, what good are relationships? I said, well, do you have kids? He said, yeah. I said, well, so if you could get a terminal illness or give your kid the terminal illness, which would you pick? Mm-hmm. And he said, I'd take it. And I said, well, then the relationship is probably more important then, isn't it? He's like, man, I've never thought of that before. If you think about it, Rob, relationships when you're born, right? They're required or you'll die. Mm-hmm. And when you die, that's all you care about. Like if you knew you were going to die today, dude, you wouldn't care about podcasts or let me check my bank account. Yep. You'd be worried about are people and relationships. Mm-hmm. So why do we forget in the middle how important they are? Then people are like, well, I just need to make some money. Where do you think money comes from? Relationships. Every dollar you've ever received came from a relationship of some kind, which is why I say the more hands you shake, the more money you make. Like relationships are the most important thing in life than your health. Mm-hmm. But relationships are more important. If the whole world, if someone said, Brad, you can die and the whole world will carry on, or if you die, I can arrange where the whole world dies with you. I wouldn't pick the whole world to die with me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'd want everyone to carry on. But my wife, she comes with me. Not if I got like a terminal illness, I'd die alone. But like, if someone said, hey, you're going to die in a plane crash, you want to, no, actually I'd leave her here for the kids. I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but I don't want her to be happy. I want her to be sad. I want 10 years after, I want you guys to go, Oh, she still loves him so much. She won't date another guy. She won't talk to another guy. I want her to be happy, just alone, single.
Well, that's what I love you, man. The real Brad Lee. I mean, I think everything you shared here if people listen, and like I said, this guy has called pretty much every major trend. He's got a track record to prove it. If you listen to what Brad said in terms of the action you guys need to take, and I think as we ended this, not the part about his wife, but the part about relationships, I always say everything good that happened in my life, I could point to relationship. Everything bad that happened in my life, I could point to relationship. I'm glad that God brought you into my life 5 years ago. You've made my life better. It's been a great relationship. And thank you for coming today, man, and sharing this with everybody.
My pleasure. I apologize in advance for the harm it may cause.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Sure.
Thanks.